Hi, friends. My name's host Derek. My game is Bo Derek. My shame is Winston's mom's ferrets. And my blame is West Philadelphia. Thanks, Isaiah Rude. What a swell fellow you are. That's way to get right to my happy bone there, Isaiah Rude. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. Wow. See, it's like, that's what I really care about is I want people to listen to my music and like it.
You talk about me?
No, that's okay.
I didn't really think you were.
Rachel's listening to her earbuds right now. And Rachel's listening to her earbuds right now, so she's only probably not hearing what we're saying, what I'm saying, really. So thank you anyway, Isaiah Rude. And thanks, Hembone. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. That's great. Appreciate the feedback. Fucking Hembone. God damn it. Gotta have everyone's gotta have a little Hembone in their life, though. You know? Otherwise, it's just whistling Dixie. Nobody wants to be just whistling Dixie. Sure, whistling Dixie is fine, but not just whistling Dixie. Right, exactly. Exactly, Hembone. You want me to roll your pancakes on your junk and then roll them up for your lunch? That's what you're aiming for here. You know, the point is, what pathology are we all suffering from now? In the last, 20 years, there have been so many different pathologizations of things that I can't even begin to keep count. You got in the past 20 years or so, the following became big, common, very, very common disorders. ADHD is a disorder that every parent whose kid is not doing well in school that's like rich wants their kid to get. Because they think, well, there must be some sort of problem with my child. They must have some sort of a disorder because they're not doing very well in school. They don't like it. They're not attending to their homework. And it's because it's fucking stupid and boring. You know, it's like, who would want to attend to it? Who would enjoy that? You've got to be a very like not restless mind to enjoy that. And the other disorder that's very common these days, very popular, autism. Everybody wants to be autistic. I've worked with actual autistic people. They're not anything like people who claim they are Asperger's or autism spectrum or anything like that. It's ridiculous. Other disorders, everyone's bipolar. If you get sad sometimes, you're depressed. I'm not dismissing depression as a real thing. I acknowledge depression is definitely a real thing. Some people get genuinely depressed, and it's a real problem. Is it the sort of problem that ought to be dealt with drugs? Well, probably sometimes, maybe even a lot of the time. But, ultimately, it seems like normal periods of non-optimality are considered all of a sudden pathology. There's no patience for a person to evolve beyond their current affect. It's like the goal, if there's going to be a goal to psychology or an overarching frame to it, it ought to be the liberation of the non-normative deviation from the realm of normative analysis. And what I mean by that is normative analysis means judging things like what's good versus bad. Like A is good, B is C is meh, D is meh, F is terrible, right? It's like that's normative. So there's definitely a normative quality to education because it's trying to be objective in its metric. It's trying to measure people objectively. So as a consequence, it thank you for liking Mutant Macrovich. I appreciate that. I do have my assembled spiders, they call them, which are people who are very spiteful. And they like to come and drop a whole bunch of thumbs downs on my videos. I don't know what they think they're accomplishing, but something I'm sure. I mean, the thing is, it's not just about that, Jake Forrest. It's not just about being happy. It's the reality that there are a variety of norms that link to cognitive functions. So social grace, for example, is a norm linked to cognitive function. It's a norm in that it's good to be at or above the standard, and it's bad to be below the standard. And this is also true for norms of logic. Like students who have bad TI, I'm sure have often been diagnosed with learning disabilities just because they have polar TI. I know Kimberly was in special ed. Why? Well, because they didn't think she, I don't know, because they were fucked up. They just pathologized her, right? Rachel has been, has had mental health services used as a weapon against her, basically. Why? Because she smoked marijuana, but they wanted to position her as something else because she was having a little freak out. People freak out sometimes, I freak out sometimes, but it's not a reason to put me in a mental hospital. The thing about that is, I have another brother who's 6 years old and clearly SE dumb. He was diagnosed with autism because he likes to fuck shit up and piss off people. And then, of course, there's this movement toward always understanding, bad people or people who've engaged in bad behavior as narcissistic, sociopathic, pathologically evil, so to speak. So there's a whole bunch of normative implications in the way that psychology is sort of how it plays out in the world, right? There's no reason to actually believe that most people who behave in an evil fashion are fundamentally or pathologically evil. When we say pathologically, we mean, specific to the person, I guess, or to emotion. But we mean it in the current vernacular. We typically mean it as being linked to an illness. Some behavior that's not just bad, but so bad that it comprises a behavioral disorder of some sort. And this is very common with children because the world doesn't have room for children to be children anymore, to run around and play. And it asks too much of them, too much sitting down and being abstract, and too little physicality of them. It's wrong. It's morally wrong, in my opinion, basically, what we do to children. Now, some children fit right in with that and find it no problem. But other people do not. So the next thing I want to, okay, when we're talking about people who do engage in shitty behavior, like, people who are very consumed with spite or something, they might be behaving in a narcissistic fashion. Namely, they might be behaving or engaging in behaviors that are consistent with behaviors that a narcissist might engage in. But it doesn't actually mean they're a clinical narcissist. And it's important to note that. I think it's okay to describe behaviors using pathologizing terminology sometimes, depending on how legitimate it is, right? It's like we can define what comprises pathologically evil behavior in a pretty straightforward fashion. It's got to be intentionally generated suffering that is generated for the sake of your own satisfaction, So that would qualify as pathological behavior, or basically evilness, but it doesn't necessarily mean the person ought to be defined as pathological, like as in a clinical narcissist or psychopath or sociopath. Those kind of clinical terms should be reserved for such people who genuinely don't experience empathy and who are perfectly comfortable using other people as a means to an end without concerning themselves with what happens to those people. The thing is, there's so many different ways to get to a kind of empathy, be it the direct FI kind, or be it kind of FE fear that makes you consistently be nice even though maybe you really aren't, or it's kind of a TE necessity to be socially competent in order to get things accomplished in the world. Whatever it may be, that expression of empathy is rarely completely absent from a person. So you should reserve those kind of pathological, ontologically pathologizing labels like you are a narcissist, you are a psychopath, for just a few people who are actually well deserving of it. So Walter Wiseman says The Pathology of Normalcy by Eric Fromm explains it all. I don't doubt that somebody else has talked extensively about this subject. I don't tend to read other people's stuff or get ideas from other people. I just think about whatever I'm thinking about. What's around me usually generates thoughts. You know, it's like I've watched people who are definitely not, bad people engage in bad behaviors. I've seen people who know better let wishful thinking or some other rationalization get the better of them and drive them towards poor choices. But it's like there aren't that many people out there who are genuinely bad. For example, no matter how difficult Kimberly may have been, or how even abusive she may have been at times, she is not an evil person. She's not a narcissist. She's not a psychopath. She's not a sociopath. She is, a person who struggles with dealing with damage from her own childhood. And it's obviously a lot harder when you're SI than when you're something else. Like, ENFJ or something, ENTJ, they probably just put that stuff behind them and let it go. Like Oprah's always saying, apparently. You just gotta let it go.
Did she contact you today?
Yeah, she asked me about the phone. Why?
Why didn't you tell me? You're always asking me.
It's just her saying, "Can you send me $200 for the phone?" I don't know. It was like logistics. It just seemed because she wants to get rid of this phone off of her contract, right?
Oh, so it's $200
to pay it off because the phone's not paid off yet.
Oh.
Now, the thing is, I mean, realistically, I already paid her for it because I gave her $500 for the phone back when, but whatever, it's fine. It's like it should be interpreted one way, so it's just okay, fine, fuck it. I don't want to have any sort of extended communication, so I'm just gonna give her the money. That way, I get to keep the phone. She has got no argument against me on that level. And what I'll do is, since I can't find my new phone, I'll go over to the phone store and have them transfer that number to this phone.
Yeah, easy peasy.
Right.
Yeah.
Read The War on Normal People from Andrew Yang? Probably won't. I mean, it's like I'm not really looking for reading advice at the moment. But the thing about it, what I want to talk about specifically is that it's very important for us to have a criterion for critiquing. Like, what kind of critiques count as legitimate? What kind of critiques do not? So behavioral critiques, this is true not just in between relationships, but in life, right? You can basically tell who the best people are by how often they engage in the wrong kind of attacks. So it's like a rational person who's engaged in reasonable conversation will be referencing facts, and behaviors are facts. So if I say, well, look, you did meow, and that's concerning. Okay, that's fine. But it's important also to remember that there's a frame issue. So it's like, ultimately, it comes into the question of what or why somebody does something. Now, the reason I'm talking about this pathologization thing at all is Rachel and I have been having a lot of really interesting conversations about, I guess, some of the stuff that distinguishes both of our current lives from previous experiences. And she was pathologized a lot. So the thing is, I think it's important in general for us all to try to keep, critiques being behavioral and not ontological. It's something I think needs to be hammered quite a bit. Normal to some groups is abnormal to others. Okay, well, that's fine. But see, the thing is, there's an important important thing that has to be accounted for, which is we can reach consensus on what counts as behavior worthy of critique. The thing is, if you limit critiques to behavior critiques, then the issue of what counts as worthy to be critiqued as behavior necessarily comes up as a framework issue. Okay, well, yes, I agree I did that behavior. You're saying it's a bad behavior. I'm saying it's not a bad behavior. Well, then we're going to talk about what comprises a bad behavior. What's the way in which we determine which behaviors are worthy of critiques and which ones are not? And so in that instance, it's like me editing it. The ads are getting longer. It's a sign of the times. I gotta smoke a cigarette and I've got to get a beverage. My throat is about to explode from dryness. We'll be right back. So, I mean, like, bipolar is one of the disorders that gets really thrown around a lot. Anybody who's got a period of time where they're not getting enough sleep and feel like they're going crazy or whatever, when they're really excited about something, enthusiastic, all of a sudden they're going through not just a period of go, they're being manic, like it's some sort of disorder. But like almost every action type will go through periods like that of like, fuck yeah, go, go, go. So, it's insane to call it a disorder. The problem is people in the psychology community don't themselves understand that people with different cognitive function stacks than they have are not broken and wrong. They're imposing their own assumed cognitive function supremacy on everybody else. I can't read the screen, by the way, at all. I'm just talking from whatever I feel like talking about here. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I'd like to engage with the chat more, but at the moment I need to smoke the cigarette. So it's been really fascinating understanding INFJs better, living with Rachel, being with her. They do have a moist inside that's very real and vulnerable and stuff. It's just you really can't get there unless you're probably in a significant other intimate relationship with them. The thing is, I really feel as though, in this instance, I kind of produced the only kind of environment in which maybe an INFJ can safely do that, which is, I just feel like, the strength of my feelings and positive feelings towards her are very big. And of course, I speak everything out loud, especially stuff that confuses me, like emotions. So she's got a lot of sort of affirmation of self, independent of any specific behaviors or qualities, unconditional love, basically, and a lot of certainty regarding, my level of commitment. And so it's allowed her to kind of, I think, open up somebody like she probably never really done before with a significant other, at least, and INFJs are great. I mean, there's a lot of depth to them. It's interesting. They're also extremely metaphysical, like ENTPs. We both have the same sort of casual attitude towards our space, but not completely abandoning attitude towards it. It stays pretty clean, but neither of us is fussy. It's weird. Neither of us fusses over who does what at all. And, maybe because I do a lot of the things, but it doesn't even bother me because we don't have that much to do. We don't have that many chores or anything like that. Okay, let me go down the chat here and see what's going on. No, I mean it's not possible. Well, I mean, she doesn't value either of them as an absolute value, and I value both of them as an absolute value. So for her, and this is a pretty important thing about compatibility. The 2-3 thing, it works the same for ISFJ and INFJ. They both have the inverse 2-3, and that's a good combination because the instrumental of one is the absolute of the other, and it's coming from the perspective of a subject and from the perspective of an object. So in other words, your third slot function and your seventh slot function are both absolute values. Now, for me, that's FE and FI. No, I haven't seen her drunk yet. I've seen her extremely stoned. Like she ate too much edibles one night, and we actually got into a fight that night. Well, Jean Grey, I mean, you don't even have your own type right, so I don't know what to tell you. Jean Grey, you've got not even a shred of the knowledge and experience about typing people that I have. I didn't think she was an INFJ when she came here. I thought she was an ENFJ. Is she an NI over SE person? Of course. It's unmistakably, indisputably true. Of course. Yeah. It's like nobody who understands anything or understands Rachel at all or has spent any time with her would think to the contrary. It's like it's so obvious. She had this thing yesterday morning that I thought was typical. I mean, the TE polar is really clear too. She's got terrible TE. Terrible. But regardless, yeah, she had this trash in her hand, and there was the trash can for the house, right, was on the curb right next to her, and all the other people's trash was on the street. And she took the trash and started to walk back to where we normally keep the trash cans. Because, of course, NI, that's where you keep the trash cans. Not SI, we have trash comes this once a week. Not SE, the trash can's right there. Not TE, like how do I find out where to put the trash? But just NI with TE polar. Like go where the trash is. Okay, Eileen. I'm not worried, believe me. If anyone thinks she's ENFP, sorry, but I think that's a bit insane. It's absolutely insane. Like somebody the other night asked her, what is introverted intuition? And she said, internal knowing. No. Nobody, no Enidon would ever give an answer like that. Like 2-word answer and just remain silent thereafter. It's insane. Tom, Jean is not an ISFJ. She's definitely not. She's either an INFP or an INTP, and I'm not entirely sure which. She's an INFP with strong TI or an INTP with strong FI. One of the two. Yeah, nobody would give, no any user would give an answer like that. And that's typical for her, She always links to the universal. I mean, it's cut and dry. So, okay, well, good luck on that. You don't really need to because I've actually figured it out. So, any deviation from the correct way is going to necessarily be wrong, but go for it. Spend your time as you see fit. Yeah, ISFJ friend and her TE polarness caused her all kinds of expensive mistakes. Yeah, they need somebody who is demonstrative TE like me to do all the how-to shit and who's got some decent SE, which is mine is not great, but it's not bad. The thing is, everybody thinks that INFJs ought to seem a certain way or ought to have some sort of mystical. I'm not being arrogant, philosophical thinker. I mean, the thing is this. I've suggested to you that I've got a system that answers all the meaningful questions that are to be answered regarding modeling, cognition, and intentional manners. You're saying you're coming up with your own system, but you haven't poked any holes in the affirmation yet. In other words, there's a case out there that purports to do everything you're doing. If you can't find any meaningful problems with it, then why would you even bother? It's going to defeat you. You're going in knowing you're going to lose. Yeah, Jean Grey, you're not, though. Sorry. If you were, you wouldn't be arguing with me about it. And it wouldn't have been a point of dispute for such a long time. And you wouldn't be arguing the way you were arguing. And no, you just aren't. I'm sorry. It's like, I get that you want to be an INTJ. And you're probably also okay with being an INTP. But you're definitely not an INTJ. You probably are an INTP, but you very well could be an INFP. And I know that you don't want to be that, but that's the truth. I have no horse in this race. I've been avoiding, I generally avoid correcting people when they type themselves a certain way. But, when you come out and tell me I've mistyped Rachel, then you open up that door, You seem more like an ESTP based on my previous engagement with you, Rachel, than an ENTP. But I don't know. I mean, most people, there are very few actual ENTPs, as far as I know. She's not necessarily a troublemaker. She's fine. She decided to, the fact that you decided to wring as much as you could out of that last thing, it's the sort of thing that either an ENTP, ESTP would do. But I don't know. Isaiah Root, I have no idea. I don't put her on time. She's Rachel. She's cool. Rachel is a troublemaker. She's not really a troublemaker. She's a trouble take advantage of her. You have big intuition, in my opinion. Big intuition. Well, do you think it's NI or NE, Rachel? Put your bone on. Do you think your N is I or E? NEFs? So you think you're an ENFP or an INFP? Probably an ENFP, I guess. You wouldn't have thought so much. Well, sure, but that's the whole point, philosophical thinker, is that it's right as long as it stands. So what I'm saying is, to say that you are going to come up with an alternate system, it ought to be at least responsive to something you find deficient in the existing one. Ham-boned up teased Rachel. Rachel, I am so sorry that ham-bone teased you like that. Okay? I'm so sorry. He shouldn't have done it because it's not true. He doesn't want you to keep your shirt on. So he was kind of lying. He'd probably prefer you take it off. And Eileen, for Christ's sakes, this has nothing to do with Spacey. Right? It had nothing at all to do with him. My T is I and my F is E. Come in my I or in my T. Either way is fine, Isaiah. Either way. Aren't you the one that said you didn't know Rachel Tubman made a video about it? I just saw the title since I didn't bother watching it since the live stream was hours long. There was a time when I was asking for input on the question. Sure. Is that wrong? No, there was a video where I was asking people's input on her type. Is there something wrong with that? You know, I don't understand what the problem is. Just because I'm the best typologist doesn't mean I'm perfect or that I sometimes don't benefit from some assistance. It just means that when somebody disagrees with me, the higher probability is if you were going to bet on it and if somebody resolved it definitively, you'd probably be smart to bet on what I say rather than anybody else if they're in conflict. Depending on how much time I spend with them, of course. Right. Exactly. I'm not married to anything. Like other people seem to be married to affirmations and such, and assume I'm married to affirmations, and assume that it's my feelings that drive which affirmations I choose and stuff. It's crazy. It's like if you don't have TI front stack, it's very difficult sometimes to even conceive of thinking like a TI user. Because the idea of being a TI user is you're looking for things that are argumentationally defensible across communities. So it's obviously you're just not thinking like that. I'm not thinking like I want it to be this or I want it to be that. I'm thinking, what's the most argumentationally defensible thing? I don't give a fuck which one it is, you know? Doesn't matter to me. I'm not married to any of the arguments. I'm not married to the fact that it's my system or whatever. There's elements of it from all kinds of different places. It's not mine per se. FI is not about moral truths. SI is about personal value, the weight that you have in life that's linked to experience and connection to others and stuff like that. And the thing about it is we have sort of an inherent attachment to the value and sanctity of life and agency. So, for example, if I were to stab somebody a bunch of times with a knife, I would have a very difficult time processing that. My FI would act out strongly because I will have given up something that I place a lot of value on, that I'm very attached to, namely the basic concept that the world is a peaceful place and that I'm not somebody who goes around stabbing people, you know? My self-concept would be very much threatened if I were to do such a thing. So in that regard, FI seems to link a lot of times to moral truths. It's like you'll feel very sad for somebody who's suffering, regardless if you have any interest in it. If you see it, if you're a decent human being, you might feel sad depending on the context, right? So you go, oh, well, FI links to moral truths. It opposes suffering. Well, no, not really. Sometimes it favors suffering. FI is also the feeling that you get of, I'm really getting him. It feels good. That's also FI. So no, it's not moral truths. It's attachment or value. If you're really attached or value this idea of vengeance or justice getting or hurting somebody else because you're so mad at them or whatever, then that's an FI thing. And if you are really attached to something, you don't want to give up an idea because you're in love with it, it's your idea, your pet idea, and somebody pointing out something that's wrong with it, but you don't want to give it up, that's an FI thing because you're attached to it. It's not a moral question, though. If you break up with a boyfriend and he's really in love with you, then he's gonna be very sad when you go, and it's a FI thing, and it's not a moral issue. EXTP gets payback on someone purely as a joke. I'm attached to my bicycle. Now that is pure unadulterated FI. Of course, vengeance is FI. Brian Goss, what else do you think it is? It's not a logical thing to do. Justice is a logical thing to do. Vengeance may attain justice, but vengeance is the emotional need to attain justice. It's definitely the FI component driving TI. It's like TI recognizes injustice as bad, but it recognizes injustice as bad from the position of a disinterested, detached observer. The part that actually makes you feel the need to get justice, that's FI. FE is not about morality either. Neither of the Fs are. The only function that's actually about morality per se is TI, because morality and ethics are symbolic representations of communicable truths about the normative elements of agency, namely what one ought to do and ought not to do. Those can only be understood through TI. TI is the only function that could accurately be called morality or ethics, because morality and ethics are language-based representations of a universal obligation towards the sanctity and primacy of agency. No, it had nothing to do with FE. FE has nothing to do with morality. FE is all about the communicable aspects of respecting others' feelings. That's not morality at all. I mean, one doesn't type somebody by listening to arguments. But the fact that you think maybe I ought to, or that this is a good critique of me, that I wouldn't listen to your arguments, that's a pretty good sign you're not an INTJ.
What's going on?
Oh, Eileen's being nuts about her type as usual. Do TE polar make the worst debaters? No, not at all. TI polar make the worst debaters. TI polar, they debates mostly TI, TINE. The TE parts are just like round mechanics and shit. Like you gotta get your papers in order properly and stuff like that. That can be a problem for INFJs for sure. ISFJs are bad debaters, but that's because they're 4-slot NE. INFJs typically can be quite good debaters. I put them, fourth or fifth, either before ENTJs or after ENTJs. It goes, ENTP, INTP, INTJ. Those three are all kind of similar. I mean, you can get really good debaters with any of those three types. ENTJ and INFJ are the next level. Well, I mean, the thing is, Eileen, obviously, I've gotten to see a lot of evidence of how you dealt with that question since you were typed, and it's pretty definitive. There's no way an INTJ would continue questioning your type for such a long time, make so many different kinds of arguments in the process, and be so uncertain. Your SE is pretty clearly polar, not fourth, from what I can tell. A lot of things. You don't have that kind of. Eileen, I don't want to argue with you, for Christ's sakes. You're wrong, but that's fine. Be wrong. I don't give a fuck. You're not sure for shit. As you told me when I first started talking to you at the very beginning, you said how much of a conversationalist you are, how much you talk. You are not an INTJ. as a consequence.
Accepted that.
You know, it's like you're like, I love to talk so much. I can talk so well. I'm a great conversationalist, all this shit, right? You are not an INTJ as a consequence, right? No INTJ self-identifies thusly. I'm not very good at chess. That's just, and you know, I played a fair amount of it. Yes, Eileen, that's a good TI argument. The thing is, I've had a lot of experience in data now with you. We're way more than I do with any chatter normally, right? And the fact is, whether you want to accept it or not, you are not an INTJ. I'm not sure what you are. I've never formally typed you. I don't know why Spacey Trip said that. I did trust that at the time. You know, I still think Spacey's, you know, he's a pretty good typologist. He's obviously, I never thought he was as good as I am, obviously. He might have thought that, but that's just because he was wrong. It's sort of an arrogant, implicit INTPs. They underestimate, they underestimate the ability of anybody else to do the parsing. INTPs have this weird thing. It's like they think that their TI is the ultimate arbiter of everything, and there's just no way they're gonna use another person's reasoning if it disagrees with their own. Magnus Carlsen, INTJ. I don't know about Magnus Carlsen. INTJ Enneagram 9, huh? I don't think that's necessarily unlikely. I would say, like Enneagram does have a pretty good amount of impact on a thing. One way that Rachel and I bridge whatever distance there might be between a normal INFJ and EDP is she's type 7 for sure, and SX for sure. That's like the most important part, really, probably the Enneagram thing is your
Enneagram?
Yeah, I call it Enneagram. I don't know. Instinctual variant. Instinctual variant's important. I see now that I was previously with a self-preserver. I'm currently with an SX type. And she and I are both extremely relationship-y. We really feel grateful to each other to find somebody who's equivalently relationship-y. How does 4th slot SE and 7th slot SE differ? Sorry for new questions. No, that's fine. Don't worry about it. 4th slot SE and 7th slot SE. Well, 7th slot SE. Here's the difference. 4th slot SE, INTJ, they will be in, say, the chat room, the raw room or something, chatting, and concurrently working on something in the background, periodically stopping in the chatting thing. Whereas INTP or INFP 7th slot, they'll be in the chat room and they'll be playing video games in the background because they don't have any SE. And that whole let's have half a loaf. I'm gonna half play and half work. It's beyond INFP and INTP. They can't do it. Anger is not bad, and vengeance is justice gone wrong. What's 8 slot SI like? 8 slot SI is, it's instrumental to the NI. So the best way to note it is the way that examples always support the truth rather than truth stemming from examples. So in other words, an INFJ, one way to tell an INFJ from an ISFJ, an ISFJ will make a big deal about one little thing you did. An INFJ with that same thing will say, these are things I know about the world that you are therefore must be guilty of too. And therefore I'm going to condemn you. But the thing is, the INFJ way of doing it is much more susceptible to the truth because their SI ultimately serves their NI. And so when you tell an INFJ the truth, the NI truth, they are impacted and they say, okay, even if that truth sometimes is this, the particulars of this instance are what defeats the rule. So yeah, I don't know how I got up. Oh, that's the 8th slot SI. It's INFJs have about equivalent kind of self-care to ENTPs. We don't take that many showers necessarily. We brush our teeth intermittently when we feel like it, not on a regular schedule. We go to sleep when we feel like it, kind of, not on a regular schedule. We are intellectually aware we need a lot of sleep, but not actually have an easy time going to sleep necessarily, even when we try to and we think we should. It's SI in the 8th slot and SI in the 4th slot display very similarly. One of the big differences is I seek SI for purely the sensual pleasure of it, I guess, like getting in the bathtub or getting a back rub or whatever. INFJs seem to use SI more instrumentally. Like, for example, this morning, Rachel wanted to do yoga. That's a very SI kind of instrumental kind of SI meditation things or whatever. Neither of us have any taste at all for schedules, and Rachel sort of floats along in kind of a time insensitive NI haze where it's like, what day is it? How long have I been here?
Yes.
What's going on?
And that was happening even before I was here.
Okay, yeah. That's 8th slot SI right there. Advantages and disadvantages of an INFJ INTJ business partnership. Rachel, you want to cover that when you dated a few INTJs?
Interesting.
Maybe give me a chance to smoke a cigarette if you can. I'll turn this mic to you. What are the risks of INFJ and INTJ relationships, including potentially business? Well, she's talking about business partnerships, but talk a little bit about what you know about relationships in general, business relationship being a kind of relationship.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Oh, by the way, if I haven't mentioned it yet, today's the day you should go out and get yourself a box of Florida's Natural Grapefruit Juice. It's the best effing GJ around. Well, the good news is, Eileen, INTPs and INFPs are actually judging types. So you're right about that.
Yeah, actually.
You are actually a judging type.
Truthfully,
true.
Yes,
INTJ is a P type, an actual perceiving type. So you're right about that.
So, INFJ, INTJ business partnership. I've had romantic relationships with them, and I always felt like I could be really good friends with an INTJ. Business-wise, I think it has potential if they can kind of work in different departments. Like INFJ being like more of a creator and INTJ more of a delegator. The problem will come in terms of intuition and using that for your imagination and creation of things. The INTJ is going to really want to have like a reason why that creative project is going to push through. And the INFJ is only going to be able to come up with like metaphors and visualizations, not really anything concrete. So the INTJ tends to doubt those things. So that's where the problem may lie in a business partnership, especially when it comes to something, entrepreneurial, where you're trying to sell something. But friendship-wise, I think they make great friends. They're able to talk about a lot of different topics. I know I never pressed my INTJ friends and relationships to be anything more than who they were. So it actually, there has a lot of potential there. It just, the feeling and thinking sometimes is not always, it's not always aligned, which makes it a little bit difficult to come up with ideas and be on the same page about those ideas. It's a turban. My hair is wet. I do not. Wet hair is. Ugh. Let's see. It's wet. I'm very bad. Thank you. You're welcome, Rowan Morgan. Are you an INTJ? You should check. Should I check for eggs? Oh, nice. Yeah, INTJs are a lot of fun. I like talking about music with them. I like talking books, like classic movies, classic stories. INTJs and INFJs really, when it comes to like eclectic taste, INFJs and INTJs can go on and on about stuff. So, yeah, good people. Hey, Jake Forrest. Like shouty, angry, or just looking at? Oh yeah. Thanks. How's everyone doing today? What are you doing at the moment besides watching the live feed? If you are doing anything else. So I can't lie, I haven't actually started yoga yet. But what I plan on doing is like that crab pose. My back is a little like stiff and tight, so I find when I do that like backwards like crab, it's kind of like a bridge. It stretches it out a lot. Nothing. I don't know exactly what type I do. I think it's vinyasa. It's more of a stretching kind of yoga. Like one of my favorite poses, warrior pose. And that's like, and then it goes into triangle pose. It's a lot of stretching. Hi.
Hi, Precious.
Hi. I'm gonna switch over because I'm gonna brush my hair.
Okay, cool. So,
I'm gonna bring a chair and sit next to you.
okay, cool. I find myself really in this kind of odd ontological space right now where I'm extremely satisfied. Like I'm not feeling a lot of of drive to accomplish things, basically, which has really defined me for years and years now, where I have this irrepressible urge to make stuff and yeah. I think it's a good observation, Ron Solo. It seems like NI manifests very differently in INTJ versus INFJ. INFJ seem more prone to feeling like the universe has the answers, while INTJ seems prone to creating their own genius. It's a good observation. Ontological. So ontology is basically the process of identity construction and development. So it's like, ontology technically refers to the school of philosophy relating to being. The school of philosophy relating to knowing, school of philosophy relating to beauty, a school of philosophy related to being. But as it's typically used, it's meant to express that a person's ontology is more than just their identity. Their identity is who they are in the static moment, and their ontology is the developing self over time. And so it's like, I'm a process-oriented type, and as really all your real perceivers are. So the thing is, all the perceivers see the development of the self as occurring over time. Now, INFJs have a particularly interesting path in self-development because they have to learn to reject their FE in favor of TI, just as ENTPs have to learn to reject their TI in favor of FE. Because ultimately, to complete the tool auxiliary pairing, you need to, to maximize the impact of it, you need to employ the frame of it. For TIFE, that frame is communicable convincingness or persuasiveness and or ability to control the narrative, basically. And so, INFJ will only get so far with FE, just as ENTP will only get so far with TI. And so what I see in Rachel is a path of development where she becomes decreasingly willing to FE for people, which is an odd path of development, Whereas I become increasingly willing to. Okay, well, nice. Yeah, I like it. But listen, Eileen, why does it matter to you that I don't agree with you so much? Because I'm not going to agree with you, because the thing is, even that data is convincing me you're not an INTJ, because it's like they just don't have that much to say about it, They may have good ideas and yada yada, but they just aren't that consumed with convincing other people. In fact, their basic default is not to try to convince other people. That's why they have this underlying notion of everyone's doing everything wrong and I'm angry about it.
This is true. It's like stereotypical.
You wanted to share. You wanted to share your reasons of disagreement, not argue with me. I see, Eileen. I see. How kind of you to share. I'm glad you brought enough for all of us. Yeah, it does. That's a good point, Jake Forrest. Vengeance needs careful planning, a kind of weird hybrid between having deep feelings to fuel you and a detachment and goal-oriented thinking to plan and execute the thing. But neither would be INFP. Eric, I had one of my law exams and had to write an essay. Is it not wrong for cyclists to ignore the red light when no one's around? Discuss. Well, I hope you said, no, it's not wrong. It's not wrong for them to run red lights when there are people around, provided they avoid any sort of accident or do so in a way that doesn't impose their presence in a negative way upon the other parties. The question is there actually an obligation to follow the laws? No. There is an obligation to behave justly. And sometimes the laws conform to that and sometimes they don't. The police officer give you a ticket when you do it is another normative question that is more complicated to answer. But yeah, it's totally fine for anybody to break any law that does and the breaking of which does no harm to any specific party or the environment. And there's certainly not doing any of that with running red light with a bicycle.
I would just be careful if you were in a metropolitan city.
Right.
That's when I'm like, you guys are idiots. Like, for running through lights in a crazy crowded only car area, you're risking yourself.
Turn up the mics and do beard combing ASMR.
Ooh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, really good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I said the real objective of traffic rules is to optimize traffic and safety, so it's completely fine. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, in answering a question like that, you begin by saying, well, because you use the word wrong, I'm assuming you're simply asking a normative question. And underlying that normative question is the question, Is the obedience to laws in and of itself morally indicated? Some people would argue, yeah, that unless there's a specific injustice you can point to that following the law would create, that one ought to follow the law.
Yeah, if no one's around.
But I mean, I don't believe that.
Is that one of those like, if a tree falls in the forest, can you hear it sort of thing? Like,
No, because it's a different sort of question. Because the tree falls in the forest question is a question about observation. It's a question that has a contradiction in the question itself. Namely, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, doesn't make a sound. But the question it's really asking is if an unobserved tree falls and we know it falls, even though there's no observer, then yeah. Well, the answer is you're just asking the question, if a tree is observed to fall and the conditions for an observed tree fall don't exist, then what? Well, it is contradictory premises. If both the premises are true, namely that the tree falls is observed and the tree falls and is not observed. Now, the fact that we say the tree falls, it means it's observed. Otherwise, how will we know it falls?
Yeah, I'm home.
The answer is what does your heart tell you? No, that's not the
best answer.
You have any funny stories about Rachel's TE Polar? Well, I mean, here's one. Like,
oh God,
for a stretch, I was getting her email on my phone because of I had to check. I don't know why. Some like thing where I needed to check her email at one point.
Yeah, because remember the tickets.
Oh, because the
Dodgers tickets.
So anyway, and then when I was logged out my Google account, my phone Gmail would just get her email and it wouldn't get mine. And so I was in the bathroom. I correctly logged back into my Google account on the computer, but not yet on my phone. But I thought, oh, well, it's probably on my phone too. And I went into Gmail and I saw in her email she'd gotten a horoscope for ex-boyfriend. Like she gets regular horoscope updates for her and her ex-boyfriend. So I was reading that. I was amused by it. She's like, I don't know. I tried to stop it so many times. I said, well, did you try replying unsubscribe? She's like, oh, I hadn't tried that.
No.
You know, there was the other TE Polar thing was like the trash can thing the other day where you're standing right by the trash can and you want to walk back to where the trash can normally is.
I was focused more on like talking to your mom than even like I wasn't worried about the trash at all.
I'm an INTP living with my ISTP girlfriend and her 6-year-old ESFP resembling daughter. Okay, INTP living with ISTP. I mean, the problem is very straightforward. Your tool functions and polars conflict. It's an absolute nightmare. It'd be like me living with an ENFP or an ESFP. It's like as far as I'm concerned, they can't reason correctly at all. And as far as you're concerned, your girlfriend can't solve problems at all. She always solves problems by doing shit rather than ideating or deliberating or coming up with words. I mean, you're going to have endless conflicts. As far as the ESFP in the mix, that TI polar means you're not going to be able to talk any sense into her at all. You might as well just throw any stepfather-daughter relationship out the window because she's just going to be like, fuck you, Dad. I don't need your logic. I got my feelings and my doing shit. I'm going to go do what I feel like and feel like what I do. I'm an ESFP, motherfucker. I want to get my drink on. Like, you're 6 years old. Why are you talking to me like this? This guy thinks you're INFP. Who's this guy? Oh, Diavolosky Vindicator thinks you're INFP. Thinks I'm INFP. Well, then he doesn't think very well. That's for sure. I mean,
that's true.
He just doesn't. No INFP has ever done as much shit as I've done. Zero chance of it.
Yes.
They don't have the SE for it. And I'm obviously not an introvert. Any sane human being would agree that I'm obviously not an introvert.
Yeah, that's like.
It's like, how much more do I want to be up in front of everybody? You know? Only when in Rachel's arms do I become an INFP. Correct, Isaiah Rude. She'll turn me into an INFP.
Yeah, and he turns me into an INFP too.
Oh, yeah, we get moist with each other.
We do.
What you were describing seemed like FI plus NITE, which are gamma quadra, SFPs and NTJs. Dr. Lionel Sprinting Wolf Kazakoil, he's probably an ENFJ, that's my guess. Most of your snake oil salesmen are probably ENFJs. I agree with M. Ruiz. I am obviously ENFP.
Yeah.
It's like, I kind of smile when people want to attack on that vector. You know, it's like, they're banging their head against this massive fucking block of granite. It's not moving because anybody with any sense at all and any willingness to look at the evidence is going to conclude I'm an ENTP.
It's true. I mean, anyway, you know what? I do think it takes people who truly knew ENTPs, like, or you know, I don't know. You reek of it. I think if I can't even justify anyone's blind spot to it. It's
yes, Joseph did. He did.
Yep.
INTJs would be very good with revenge, but the thing to remember about that is nobody's actually good with revenge. However, I would say probably the most successfully vengeful type would be ISTP.
Yeah, bone.
That singular path of doing, that singular path of understanding, or singular frame of understanding. Don't cross Benjamin is right. Do not cross him. I like this comb.
Good, I'm glad. It's a good one.
So yeah, my INFJ friend will never cross parking spaces when looking for a place to park in a parking lot. She goes all the way up one side and then around. Oh, she's just following.
Oh my
the
god,
rules.
I'm that too. I do definitely. It drives me crazy when my friends do.
So much SI seeking in one video is right. I know, I'm so SI seeking. The thing is, SI is one of those functions that if you've got that in the fourth slot, mostly you're going to provide it for yourself anyway. It's like, what does it mean? It means stretching. I did some stretching this morning.
Yeah.
I hurt my back the other day a little bit. It means, rye-ryeing in bed and just sort of rolling on the pillow and just feeling all rye-rye. Like, Rachel and I don't actually sleep together. We have two beds in here because they're both like twin-sized beds. So, we usually start the night lying down together and then she'll move over to this one. But I still have lots of SI satisfaction even when she leaves. I have lots of FI SI satisfaction when she's in bed with me, and then I have lots of SI satisfaction still when she's not. And I'm also very fussy about my SI. Like, sometimes I'm not sleeping very properly, and so I'll get up like every hour or even more frequently, have some snacks and smoke a cigarette and lie back down and try to get right again,
I do the same. That's too similar.
SI inferior is like an autistic kid doing self-soothing behaviors. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. It is very much like that. But yeah, it's like you'll see SI fourth people touch themselves a lot. Whereas SI eighth doesn't, because it's unconscious. And it's like I said, it's really your most balanced function. It's the function that you get the most out of while attending to it the least consciously.
Yeah, like brushing hair. My friend used to brush her hair all the time. Always had a brush on her and made her feel so much better.
Where's the BONG? Where did I put the bone?
It's outside.
Oh, cool. SI third does some of it too, but SI third's less fidgety. It's like they still do the self-soothing stuff, but in this kind of context, less fidgety. Like, I'll sometimes sit like this for some reason, like What am I doing? I don't know. I don't know why I'm doing that. Yeah, we got to bong it up, Rachel. I'm going to transubstantiate this bong up to you, okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to call you Troublemaker Rachel, okay? I'm going to transubstantiate this bong up to Troublemaker Rachel. I hereby transubstantiate thee. Oh, yeah. What's a good birthday present for me? Candles, massage instruments, aromatherapy massage voucher, vibrating anal beads. Jake Forrest. I would like to receive a box of vibrating anal beads in the mail for my birthday, please. Right now, nothing inside of my anus is vibrating. Nothing. So it makes me think, really, you have no root beer in Britain and England? Something manly, obviously, blue, dark blue, or forest green, maybe British racing green since you're in England. They probably have it there, I'm sure. I'm sure most of the anal beads in Britain are British green. I'm gonna get anal beads to match my Mini Cooper. Little Mini Cooper shaped vibrating anal beads.
What?
I was just telling Jake Forrest for my birthday I had like Mini Cooper shaped vibrating anal beads. Great, that's perfect, Jake. Thanks. Okay, I'm gonna just smoke this long, right? Rachel, I have a question for you. Rachel's eating it's called a honey bun.
Little Debbie.
Could you talk about distinguishing between TI and NI when it comes to generalizing, creating rules based on observation? NI creates rules that are non-binary or synergistic. So, Rachel talks a lot about how the world has gotten meh, or people are more meh than they used to be, or stuff like that, right? Now, those aren't the kind of rules that one can use TI on because they're just generalizations. If you're going to use TI precisely, you'd have to just say, okay, well, we're arguing the generalization, and here are the trends that support it, and here are the trends that don't support it. And it's not going to be a TI conclusive answer. It's going to be an NI either satisfying or unsatisfying answer, right?
What like sociology is about. It's like making that generalization and then using like TI to kind of break it down and see the different. Like, I hated that part of it. It was fucking terrible. I hated it. I let my partner do all the work. Didn't give me that.
I haven't, Horse Mumbler, but good suggestion. Am I going to debate Jack Oliver? Of course, sure. I'm happy to. Anytime he wants. The thing is, I've tried to get him to do it on a couple of occasions, but his schedule is busy, and like every time he comes here, I say, let's do it now. And he's always like, I can't do it now. So, the thing is, I'm not a big planner, but he comes around to these live streams pretty often, and hopefully one of these times when he comes, I'll say, let's do it now, and he'll say, yeah. And we'll stop the live stream, and we'll start the debate right on in the raw room or something, and film it there. Oh, ham bone. That's great. It's great socionics humor. It's great typology humor. I'm not surprised that Jack killed Ben Bostrom the other day. Jack's a clever guy. I have nothing but respect for Jack. The problem he has is very straightforward. To the extent that he disagrees with me, he's wrong. And if I were wrong, he'd win. So if he's wrong, I'm going to win. You know, it boils down to that. I mean, I might not lose if I were wrong, but I'm definitely not going to lose when I'm right. What do you think of all the vaping deaths? I mean, I said right at the beginning when vaping happened, I'm not buying that this is healthier.
Yeah.
I said that right away. And I was like, I tried it and I was like, it doesn't feel healthier. My body's telling me this is much worse. If an INFP has a choice between an NI or TI explanation, which will they choose? TI, they'll make an NI explanation, they'll choose a TI. Okay, because they're demonstrative NI. They only tell other people NI things.
True.
But themselves, no NI accounts at all. They're completely opposed to it because not only do they have a 6-thought counter value aspect thing, but they've also, it's the opposite aspect of their dominance. So they're super negative about it. Jack's not an INTP. No way. Jack is not an INTP. And Ben Baskerlin is not an ENFP. I mean, I just don't believe vaping's healthier than smoking. Like, I'd rather smoke bong rips than vape weed. I'd rather smoke cigarette than vape tobacco.
I had a vape pen, and at first I really liked it because it didn't, like, I was able to smoke it in my room and it didn't smell like weed. But I broke it on accident, and when I tried to use the broke cartridge, I realized that when it really starts getting low on like the oil, it starts to burn on the electric wires. That's the problem.
That's a good point. That might be the problem right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it smokes.
Yeah, bro. They should make a vape pen that also functions as an ink pen.
Ooh.
Okay, if that were our combo product in today's NE test, how many good names can you how many names can you come up with?
Jake Forrest is correct. I thought that too. Because like literally a week after mine broke, they were reporting in New York about like the vaping stuff, and I was like, oh man, that's it. I never thought it was safe either. It smelled so chemically.
Right. They should make an ink pen that also functions as a pencil.
That would be nice.
Well, I mean, regardless, I already had existing smoking things, and that's what I prefer to smoke.
Yeah. Grass.
That's an excellent point, Jake Forrest. A vibrating ink pen that turns into a vibrating Mini Cooper with a built-in vibrating vape pen that's the whole thing of which is small enough for anal bleeding. I agree.
I think so too. That's something. Wow.
We get triple vibration out of that too.
Talk about an invention.
Yeah, we could buy rolling tobacco in the US of A. And if I'm really broke, I'll buy rolling tobacco sometimes. I haven't for a while though.
I think it depends on what state too, because I know in New York, rolling tobacco, you have to go to the Indian reservations.
Really?
Yeah, you cannot roll it yourself.
Why not?
Because of money, probably.
That's so stupid. You can get rolling tobacco here. You can get Bugler. You can get Top.
Oh yeah, they have Top. That's right. They do. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I know there's definitely certain stuff you can only get at an Indian reservation.
Well, IAG last. Now I want to talk to you about an invention they used to have some long time ago, and there was a house that had it it was near where I used to live in Laverne, and the house has this. It's got a vacuuming system built into the wall, so that every time you pull this, you've got a sucker tube thing, right? Like a tube with a sucking attachment on the end of it. But what there is all around the house, on every one of the walls, there's a little port, and you just plug it in, and there's a light switch for the vacuum cleaner, and you turn it on. It turns on central vacuum. You plug it into the port, and then when you want to go to the next room, you plug it into the next little port. And you don't have, there's no vacuum to plug into the wall. It's a central. It's like central heating and air, but it's central vacuuming. Isn't that cool?
That is cool.
That's what it would be like IAG last, except it would be the other direction. It would be central vaping. You'd have attached to every chair, you'd have a tube that comes out, and a light switch on the wall. Turn on your central vaping machine, and then it would you'd have a big jug of hash oil that just drip by drip by drip by drip, and so it would be industrial, it would be perfect. And then anytime you want to turn it off, you just flip the light switch.
Does anyone remember the game Light Bright? It wasn't even a game; it's just an activity.
I had a light bright for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Me too.
Am I concerned about the long-term effect of smoking? I do believe cigarette smoking is bad for me, and I probably will eventually someday quit cigarettes. But I feel relieved that I smoke a lot of weed, and the weed protects my lungs and rejuvenates them from the cigarette smoke. So, I'm probably okay. The last time I went to the doctor and had my lungs checked out, I had remarkably big lung capacity. But it's also the case that I lose my wind quickly. So, for example, if I go jogging, then I'm going to go very quickly. I would like to get more in shape, just because I've got some kind of something like doubles ice skating routines planned, where I throw Rachel up in the air and spin her around, and she lands, and we go like that and stuff.
I have to get in shape too.
Yeah. So I'm going to have to work on the cardio, because we plan to, what did we say? We're going to get gold in 2032?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take us a while to prep.
So, and to make the costumes as well.
Right. We got to make the costumes. Yeah. Sure. Good point. Do some push-ups when you wake up. I don't know. How good can it be for your lungs, since it makes you cough so much? I don't think smoking anything is good for your lungs. Well, Rachel, it's one of those magical mysteries of the universe.
It is, though. I think the way you like if I inhale, I used to when I smoked out of a bowl, and I would inhale then exhale and exhale for the oxygen, and it was kind of like a more soothing way of doing it, because I have smaller lungs. So I like to take my time with my smoke so it doesn't really irritate it so much, but.
Okay, the most obvious one is I wish I had you last.
Me too, honestly. That would be so fun.
The obvious one is the vaping right, or the puffing right,
What's that?
For the name for a regular pen that's also a vape pen.
Oh. And the regular pen that's also very cool.
The high rider.
The high rider. Oh, yes, I like that. That's a great name.
Thanks. Get your blood pumping to wake up. Get your blood pumping to wake up. Versus, you want to get out of the house?
Sure.
You want to take a walk or something, or you want to go jogging?
You can go jogging.
You want to go jogging?
Oh, yeah, sure.
That sounds kind of fun. But yeah, I'm not gonna get very far.
No, and I don't know how to jog in those sneakers. I'll be able to do it.
Yeah. So okay, I think we're gonna call it a live stream. Thank you all for being here, and I appreciate your presence, just like I appreciate your presence. And live stream when I jog. Eric Thor reminds us to keep jogging, keep that blood pumping.
Jogging, I guess it's a thing.
Jogging. Pathology, the science of the causes and effects of diseases. Yeah. So when we pathologize people, basically we say that their behavior that comprises some sliver of the normal is bad. And my central thesis here is that most of the psychology community that's doing that, they're expressing their own cognitive function biases.
True.
They're like, FE tool people going, FE polar people must be retarded. They're so wrong about everything. It's TI tool people going, TI polar people must be learning disabled because they're so dumb. It's like FI tool people thinking FI polar people must be sociopaths because they don't care enough or something. It's that kind of thing. It's like every type goes into psychology and establishes that not being like them is a disease.
True. This is that 100%. I like what Jake Forson say. Pathological jogging is jogging.
Before we go, I'd like to pull a card for Jake Forrest.
Yeah.
We're gonna do one card pulls today. So I'm only doing one card pulls. Anybody wants one, just chime in.
Yeah, chime in.
Not gonna be a long card pulling, but Jake Forrest. Let's see what's going on. Jake Forrest. Pow. Ooh, Tower card. Disaster coming. Hey, look. Remember, Jake Forrest, doesn't mean actually disaster in your life. It could be disaster, the theme around you that becomes central and you are some way to provide solvency for it.
Yep.
It could mean just an upheaval, change, something like that.
Yep.
So don't be too panicked about that. Remember, the crown's still up in the air. The results still uncertain.
Exactly.
Okay. Who else wants a card? Card me, says Hambone. Fine. Piao. Well, inheritance, property. The 10 of Pentacles. So look, you're maybe like this guy with the gray hair.
Yeah.
He's feeling like a pretty big pimp. But you could be like this lady. She's feeling sultry and good and like, hey, we're all together as a family. Or you could be like that little kid, like, what's that dog doing with its tail? Or you could be one of the dogs being like, I want to lick some of that wealth and prosperity. Whatever it is, that's your card.
Take it as you will.
A Lisa Frank tarot card set?
That would be cool. I agree, Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider, I'm pulling this card for you. Piao. Time to prioritize. Time to pay some bills and make some shills. Time to budget. Time to balance things. Don't play all the time. Work sometimes. Don't work all the time. Play sometimes. That kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Isaiah Rude wants one too. Ron Solo wants one. Let me do Ron Solo for. Oh, there's Rachel wants one too. Okay. Troublemaking Rachel. Let's see. You got this. Benefit, reward, profit. So what this means, remember, you could be this guy, but you could be one of these guys too. This is the thing about these cards. You could be any of those guys. Mm-hmm. So the thing is, you want to be this guy. Obviously, he's a better thing to be. But remember, this guy still has to give away stuff. So it's kind of about the give and take of the world. To give, one must receive. To receive, one must give. The cycle of life goes on. The tarot speaks. Okay, that's the card for Rachel. Let's see. Angantyr wants one. I'll go down in order so I don't skip anybody. Angantyr. Ciao. Ooh, reversal. Reversal of spirit child. It's time to put that intuition away, Angantyr. Time to stop being so flirty. Time to stop looking at birds or fishes or whatever it is in a cup. It is time for you to get your business in order. Get yourself upright. Be practical, pragmatic. Go find an ESTJ to tell you what to do. All right? That's the message of the tarot to you today. All right. Okay, let's see. Next we got, what did we just do? We just did Ron Solo.
Yes.
Now we have Isaiah Rude. Isaiah Rude. We too is doing super good pooing. We are making you happy again. Here you go. This is for this is for IAG last, was it?
Yeah.
No, it's for Isaiah Rude, I said. I think.
Yep, that was
Yeah,
you're right. Isaiah Road. Yeah.
Isaiah Road, you got the justice card. Now, this is a good card in general. It tells you shit's going to be just and fair and good and decent. Or it could tell you that justice is the theme you need to prioritize here. That you're going to have some sort of issue where you could be unfair, but it's time to be fair. Don't be unfair or everyone will say boo. Okay. Next. I think I did Hambone already. IAG last. IAG last.
Yeah.
Here you go. Piao. Patience. This is called the Lion Chin Pet. Miss Lion Chin Pet. It's time for you to become your own version of Miss Lion Chin Pet. What does that mean? When you get pet a lion's chin, you don't just run up to it and start petting it. You got to be careful. You got to be cautious. You got to be patient. You got to show fortitude, calm, kindness. You got to get the lion to trust you. Then you can pet his chin. And then the next thing is, what you don't see in the next scene of this, she starts French kissing a lion. So you might be at that stage too. You don't know.
Do you have the F and GJ?
What did I do with it? I had it. Is it over there somewhere? Oh, it's on the shelf. On one of these shelves. It's up there.
Ah.
Okay. Horse Mumbler. Here's Horse Mumbler's card. Inception. Spark. It's time for a new idea to take shape. Time for a new idea to take shape. You're going to be like a hand in the cloud with a wonderful stick. Okay, Horse Mumbler. There you go. And Joel Nathan Henry. King of Cups. King of Cups. King of Cups. King of Cups. Okay, you are a guy who's sitting in a place of calm amidst a sea of uncertainty and moisture. You are the king of the moisture. You feel it all. You understand how important it is,
Yep.
but you don't let it carry you away. You see, you're sitting on your still block of rock there amongst the moving waters. So that's what you got to apply, Joel Nathan Henry. You put that FI inside of a concrete block, make it stay put. All right. Anybody else? Last call for tarot cards.
We do body parts as well.
We also do tarot for body parts. I called the Steelers game tonight with tarot. Picked the Steelers.
Steelers, is what we were saying.
They did pick the Steelers. Now, the tarot was wrong last night, but one never knows.
One never knows.
Okay. Let's see.
Isaiah Road.
Last card is going to be for you, Rachel. We're going to pull a 2 card.
Okay.
Which one do you want? Which one's yours?
Can I have both of them?
Yes, you can. It's a 2 card. This is for Rachel. Card number 1. Balance and moderation, temperance and cups. Pour the water back and forth. Pour it back and forth. That's what we're doing periodically. We're pouring the water back and forth.
Yeah, we do. You go from one bathroom to the other.
Miser possessions. Well,
I pulled that for myself today too.
Things are pretty tight. You know, I mean, not really, but it's like I feel like we should be careful with money.
Yeah.
I got
Nothing wrong with that.
expense coming tomorrow. Just not really the most fun expense. But yeah.
Doing what you gotta do.
Doing what we gotta do.
Yeah, I think that's good. I actually could use that sometimes, It's not a bad thing to hold on to what you got.
Right. Hold on to what you
pragmatic.
got. Hold on to what you got. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's great. I like to see that
me-
card in your
yeah,
mix
me
too, actually.
Yeah, I did. I pulled it for myself. I'm like, oh.
All right, you pull
Yeah.
a 2 pull for me. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. Hirohito.
For my brain.
This is for me, not for Hirohito. But
we should do one for my brain worm. What would we name a brain worm?
we name it non-existent. I don't want you to have any
I don't know.
health problems.
Oh, I love you. Here, these are. You like those cards. I'm such a.
The yin and the yang. My root chakra and my sacral chakra are combining to make chakra soup. I've got the the authority patriarch card. Clout. I'm the emperor. I've got virtuosity. I'm seasoned. Or it could be talking about my dad. That's possible too. And then we got Earth Mama. I'm being honorable, successful. I'm being very sensual. All right. So those are appropriate cards for me.
I think so too.
And dude, that does have a very nice red skirt. Let's pull a 3-pull for the channel.
He does have a very nice red skirt, Forrest.
3-pull for the channel. 3-pull for the channel.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let's find out what's going to go. Here we go. Man. Card number 1 for the channel. This will be the. Well, actually, we'll probably do a 4-pull. This will be the frame. Then we'll do a 3-pull, and then there may be a frame evolver. We'll do that. We'll do a 5-pull. Frame for the channel. Star. Pouring water from the jugs.
2 boobs.
Okay, that's the frame. Let's see what the first undercard is. You might call the underlying unconscious reality of things. Vivacious extrovert. Why? Is that me with that big flower behind me?
And your cat.
Am I a vivacious extrovert? This explains the male-female thing. You know, I've got my female side, which is vivacious and flirty and fiery and fun. And fierce.
Yeah. Yep.
It's fierce.
You are fierce.
Okay.
It shows.
That's the underlying unconscious background of things.
Yeah, it is. It's true. It's why people watch. Another reason why.
Number 2, consider pondering ideas. So we're pondering ideas around here. We're idea ponderers. That's a good point about it. Let's see what else we got. This is the unconscious present unfolding. Ooh. This is a theme. Well, this is a theme for the channel. I mean, this is a current theme for the channel that is coming. I don't feel as though there's actual disaster or upheaval coming to the channel, hopefully, but one never knows. That's not the evolver, though. That's the present things unconscious. In other words, the unconscious present is the conceived but not yet born. And then here's the evolver for the frame.
I mean.
So at the end of the day, shrewdness, chattiness, sociability, cutting, combined with this, these are your frames. And these are your themes, basically. And these really are the themes of the channel. You know?
I mean, sometimes when we're like pondering or whatever, or want to consider things, we go to the channel, we'll like think about things. And then it does go through, you have been through a lot
series
of
these.
Yeah.
A whole long series of these things.
And you are very gregarious and extroverted, fiery. It makes people interact with you. And overall, it is all about talking and being social and getting your ideas out. You are pretty cutting too. I mean, you don't let bullshit happen much. You call people out on their stuff.
That's true.
And that's why your channel is the star.
Thanks, baby. All right, that'll do it. Thanks for being here. Please, on your way out, if you haven't yet, go ahead and push that thumbs up button.
Yeah.
It indicates to us that you liked your time here. And, if we get enough positive reviews, our boss gives us a coupon for a free movie. So, it's pretty good. Here at the Talking with Famous People Corporation, we have this thing where it's like, if, you're going to get a survey call after this, if you could please rank us both 5 stars. If we get enough 5-star rankings, we will get a free pass to the movies. Okay. I'm just going to do a repoll on the Steelers game, Steelers-Browns. Let's see, because it's going to get confirmation. First one said it was a very close game, very sloppy game. The Steelers won. It's going to do a 1-card pull for each team. Steelers. Inventory, accumulate. Okay. And is that one for the Browns? That is the one. Oh, invert. Invert balance. Imbalance, in moderation.
It says 2 interesting cards.
I don't think this really resolves the question. Let's pull another one.
Yeah,
Okay?
I think so too.
This is still unresolved. So we'll pull another one. Steelers. Arrival success. That's pretty clear.
Yeah, that is.
Let me see about the Browns. What do they get? Successful Earth Mama.
This is. I don't.
It's still unsure.
I know, it's really unsure.
Still unsure.
All right, this last one.
Okay, yeah. Some aspect of the Steelers is going to be like arriving successful. Maybe an aspect that was failing before. But it seems like the Browns are going to continue on well with everything they've had going on well. And so that's a good sign, too.
Yeah.
Let's see. Steelers.
I can't. Why won't they tell us? They are not telling us.
That says it's unsure.
Yeah.
Let's see. And the Browns. Ooh, this one popped out. Dynamo. But also this one popped out. Queen of Cups. So look, these are almost contradictory influences to each other. This one being dynamic and extroverted, this one being mushing out and introverted, and the Moon card being unclear.
I think we're just gonna have to watch.
It's gonna be a close game.
Yeah, it is.
I'll let you guys interpret that one. I can't force the tarot to tell us an answer. Sometimes it says no, and in this case it did. And so, my earlier poll said a very close game. I I picked it for the Steelers, but the tarot wasn't super clear on that one either.
Wow.
So
I'm gonna go Steelers too.
I'm going Steelers.
Yeah, let's go.
I think Steelers. I think this arrival one. This bodes well for the Steelers.
Yeah, I think so too.
And the Moon, that doesn't bode poorly.
No.
Right. So I go Steelers. But if you bet on the Steelers and they don't win, blame the tarot, not me. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes the tarot.
Messenger.
Sometimes the tarot likes to fuck with people. I just convey the message, Okay, that's it. The end. I have to push the end now.